The market holds the pivot again and bounces, which means the bulls are still in control. The question is, can they follow through? This is Invest with Jacob. Okay, guys, so as we talked about yesterday, the market went down and tested the bottom of the pivot again, and the bulls rallied off of it again. This time they gave themselves a 1-2 setup to build off of, and now we have the potential of a wave 1 higher starting. However, the bulls still have some work to do to make that happen. I'll get into all that in just 1 second, but first, if you're new here, welcome to the show, guys. My name is Jacob Gabbard, and this is Invest with Jacob, where we use Elliott Wave Theory to break down the SP 500 and the Nasdaq. I highly encourage you to hit that subscribe button down below so that you can get our daily S&P updates, our trade setups, and our buy alerts. All right, guys, before we jump into the charts, I talk all the time about why I love doing this. Part of this is making people better traders and letting them build a retirement, an extra income, a college fund, whatever it is. But also it's the teaching part. I was a coach in my younger years. I love helping people. And as you can see from some of these comments, I love teaching people Elliott Wave and seeing it click for them. And when they learn, it's really awesome. So if you want to be a part of this, I'll tell you how to do that later in the video. Now let's jump into the chart and take a look. Okay, guys, here we are on the 1-hour futures chart for the S&P 500. As you can see, we came down and tested the pivot down here one more time, and then we got a rally up, a pullback to test the lows that held, and then another rally up that took out this high. So it's a good sign for the bulls on what we're building here. And right now, it's pretty cut and dry what we're looking at. So with the wave 1 up and 2 down, we're building out wave 3. And so far we have 1, 2, and it looks like 3 in place, but they're kind of starting to try to push this higher in the overnights, which they very well could. If they do extend the wave 3 up, the next target would be 44.57. But they did hit the 1, 2, 3, 6 at 44.49, and that was what we were looking for. So from there, we're expecting a pullback. Now, this is where the rubber meets the road, and it's because this is one of the 2 main failure points of a move up. So what you look at here essentially when you have a 1, 2, 3 like this is you either have one of 2 things, right? You have this 1, 2, 3, or you have an A, B, C. And the way we tell the difference is with the pivot. So when the market hits this wave 3 of 3 target and starts to pull back, okay, if it's an ABC, the pivot's going to fail and we're going to drop off lower. However, if it is going to be a wave 3 higher, then it should hold the pivot because that is the retrace area we're looking for, okay, and then shoot higher in wave 5 of 3 to complete wave 3. So this is the first failure point of a rally. You get wave 3 of 3 up, and you get the pullback to test the pivot. If it breaks the 618, okay, then it's very likely this move up has failed, and we will be looking lower to break this low and come back down. So that's the first failure point. The second one is if we do hold the pivot the first time and move back up in wave 5 of 3 to complete wave 3, then you have to pull back in wave 4, which would also test the top of the pivot to the 1.0 extension. Usually you want that to hold the 1.0 or higher. So if that pulls back and fails and breaks through the pivot, then you are also looking at a failure point. Okay, so we pushed up to the 1, 2, 3, 6, and when you push that high, okay, you would expect the 764 to hold. All right, and that is 44.24. We can still drop down to the 44.16, but it's a little bit of a warning if 44.24 breaks. Because you really should hold that level as a 382 retrace is the most common wave 4 pullback, and that would be a little deeper than that and start to give us a little bit of a warning shot that, hey, support's not holding. So since we pushed to the 1, 2, 3, 6, we would really like 44.24 to hold, but 44.16 must hold. Now, if this had only pushed up to the 1.0 extension, then we would expect 44.16 to hold. It would still be a must hold. It still needs to hold at 44.16, but we would expect it to test that because when you do a 382 off the 1.0, it takes you to the 618. So if you only push to the 1.0 extension and pull back, then you would expect it to test the 618. But if you push up to the 1, 2, 3, 6, like we did here at 44.49, you would expect it to test the 764 and hold at 44.24. So if they don't push it higher and they start down, then we would expect them to test that 44.24 level, and we would expect that to hold and then move higher up towards 44.69, which is the 1618 extension and a common target for all of wave 3. All right, from there we would need the 4 to pull back and the 5 up to give us that wave 1 of this wave 5 of 3 here. So if we can get that in place, then the bulls are well on their way to 46.60 to complete wave 3. But if not, if we pull back and break the pivot to the low side, then it's very likely we break this low and we have one of our 2 alt counts to the downside. So what are those 2 counts? If you haven't been watching, So if the pivot breaks to the downside, if they pull back through this pivot here and then the major pivot over here breaks, which I would assume after testing it twice and getting as low as we did, this is kind of the bull's last chance up. But if they bring it down and break this pivot, okay, our next option is that this was all of wave 1 here instead of just wave 3 of 1. And the move down, okay, would be wave 2. And we would look for that to target in the 4,300 to 4,325 area. From there, we would look for it to bounce in wave 1 of 3 and start that move higher. However, if this area doesn't hold and it breaks below that, then it's very likely we go down to test the lows and make another low around the 4,000 area. So today's update is pretty cut and dry. We need to hold 44.16, and if not, it's very likely we look lower. I have a hard time believing they're going to test this pivot for a third time, make a low, and still be able to hold inside of it. So if 44.16 can't hold, then the most likely scenario is we break this pivot and come down in wave 2. After that, it would be all the way down to the lows around 4,000. Okay, over on the Nasdaq, okay, we have a slightly different setup because we think we have wave 1 already in place here at the top, and we're pulling back in wave 2, and we may have just bottomed in wave 2 just above the 618 retrace here. And they're starting to build their 5-wave structure up in a very micro wave 1, where they have 1, 2, 3 in place, and now they're looking to pull back in 4 and move up in 5. So their key level to hold is going to be the 14,140 level, and then if it breaks that, it can still come down to the top of wave 1, which is about 14,100, but it can't break wave 1. So we would expect 14,140 to hold, but if it doesn't, it can come down as deep as just above the top of wave 1 and still be valid. So if this does break, if 14,140 breaks, that's kind of a warning shot, just like on the ES. If the 44.24 level breaks, that's a warning shot. We really should hold the 1.0 on this pullback in 4 and then move up in wave 5. Now this will just be wave 1 of wave 1 of wave 3. We expect wave 1 of wave 3 to target the 0.5 to 0.618 extensions of wave 1 and 2. So we draw our extension up here to the top of 1 and down in 2. That gives us our extensions here. And so 15,044 and 15,318, these will be our most common wave 1 of 3 targets. From there, we'd look for a pullback in wave 2, all right? And then they need to rally and take out that high and then move through the pivot. So the pivot, guys, remember, is the 618 and 764 extension. And that's because our most common targets are the 0.5 and 618. We come up and tap those, pull back, and then blow through those, plus another fib. And that gives us a pretty good idea that we are in wave 3 of 3, moving higher toward the 1.0, or more commonly, the 1236 extension. All right, guys. So the Nasdaq needs to hold that 14,140 level or just below it, okay, as long as it's above this wave 1, but we'd really like to see 14,140 hold and move higher from there up towards wave 5 here to complete at 14,354, and again, that would give us wave 1 of 3 up. All right, from there, we would expect a pullback in 2, and then 3, 4, and 5 up toward one of these two levels. However, if 14,140 doesn't hold, then it's very likely we do move lower and break through this bottom. And at that point, we would have support at 16,832 all the way down to 13,492 for potential wave 2. And if those can't hold, then we go make new lows at that point. Guys, if you love the information that I put out in these videos and you want real-time market updates from me, you need to check out investwithjacob.com. Okay? There's a link down in the description. Go ahead and click that link. It'll bring you right over here to the website. And we have 2 amazing plans here, and they both come with a 7-day free trial because I want you to get in there. I want you to see what you can learn in there. I want you to see our trades. I want you to see everything about it and make sure you love it before you ever spend a penny. Guys, I treat my traders like a team. I take care of them. I answer all their questions. I teach them Elliott Wave Theory as well as give them the trades. So it's an excellent place to learn trading and to make trades. So in our first room, you have my Invest with Jacob room, and there you get all of my real-time market updates, all of my buy and sell alerts, as well as all of your Elliott Wave questions answered. We do trade the SPY and the QQQ, and we swing trade, which means our trades last anywhere from a few days to a few months, so we don't trade quite as often as a day trading room. So if you're looking for day trading as well as individual stocks, you need to check out PT's Throne Room. In there, you get everything you get in the Invest with Jacob room, Plus, you get individual stock trading, day trading, as well as PT's reduced risk binary trading method that is so powerful you need to see it to believe it. And that man has some knowledge on the market. He teaches so much in there, and everybody's learning stuff, and they're making money and having a great time in there. So if you want to come join us, we'd love to have you in there, guys, so we can make some money together. All right, guys, key takeaways for today. Pretty cut and dry on both charts. The key level for the S&P 500 on the futures is 44.16. We need to hold that level. If that breaks, we look lower and likely lower through this pivot down and at least a wave 2 towards 4,300. However, if they can hold the pivot and move higher, then we look to 44.69 to complete wave 3, and then a retest of that pivot, and then a move higher up towards 44.89 to complete all of wave 1. Over on the Nasdaq, our key level to hold is 14,140. It can go a little bit below that to the top of this wave 1 right here, which is right around 14,100. Okay, so it can go as low as that, but if that 14,140 breaks, that is a warning. And if it does break the top of this wave 1, then it's very likely we break this bottom and make a new low where our support becomes 13,832 down to 13,492. Guys, it's the weekend, a day early. It's Easter weekend and Good Friday. Have a wonderful Easter. Spend some time with your family, eat some ham, decorate eggs, do whatever it is you do. Enjoy the weekend. Turn off your computers, have a drink, and have a good time. And I will talk to you next week.